I found out my rich wife planned to divorce me after spending 12 years building her company. So I sold my patent worth 75% stake in her company to her major competitor. 1 week later, she filed, then panicked when her plan completely backfired. If you've ever felt invisible in your own marriage, you'll understand what I mean when I say I became a ghost long before I disappeared. I'm standing in our home office right now, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Washington, watching the rain streak down the glass like the tears I haven't allowed myself to cry in 12 years. My wife, Victoria, or Tori, as I used to call her when we were young and broke and stupidly in love, is downstairs in the kitchen, probably sipping her third espresso of the morning, scrolling through emails on the tablet I helped her pick out 5 years ago. She doesn't know I'm up here. She doesn't know a lot of things, but I know everything. The knowledge sits in my chest like a stone, heavy and cold, pressing against my ribs every time I breathe. It's been 3 weeks since I found out. 3 weeks since I discovered that the woman I spent 12 years building up, supporting, sacrificing for, loving, despite everything, has been planning to discard me like a used tissue the moment her company goes public. 3 weeks since I decided to do something about it. Let me back up. Let me tell you how we got here, because the story doesn't start with betrayal. It never does. It starts with love, or what I thought was love, back when we were both graduate students at MIT. Back when Tori was brilliant and driven and beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with the designer clothes she wears now. 12 years ago, I met Victoria Chun in a thermodynamics seminar during my second year of my PhD program in materials engineering. She was first-year business school, auditing the class because she wanted to understand the technical side of whatever venture she was planning. I remember thinking she was either incredibly ambitious or completely insane. Who takes thermodynamics for fun? She sat 3 rows ahead of me, and I noticed her because she asked questions. Good questions. The kind that made Professor Brennan pause and actually think before answering. After the 3rd class, I worked up the courage to introduce myself. "You're wasted in business school," I told her, which was possibly the worst opening line in the history of graduate student flirting. She laughed. It was a real laugh, not the practiced, careful sound she makes now at investor dinners. "And you're wasted hiding in a lab," she shot back. "When was the last time you talked to someone who wasn't made of equations?" "Tuesday," I said. "I had a very meaningful conversation with my coffee maker." That laugh again. "I'm Tori. Marcus Webb. We got coffee after class. Then dinner. Then we started spending every evening together in the library, her working on business plans while I ran simulations for my dissertation research. She'd ask me about my work, and I'd explain the polymer matrix I was developing. A revolutionary material that could conduct electricity while remaining flexible, with applications in everything from wearable technology to medical devices to renewable energy storage. "You're going to change the world with this," she said one night, her eyes bright with genuine excitement. This was before the excitement became calculated, before everything she said was measured for maximum impact. "Maybe," I said, "if I can ever get the synthesis process stable." "You will," she said with absolute certainty. "And when you do, we're going to build something incredible together." That word meant everything to me. 6 months later, we moved in together. A year after that, I successfully developed a stable synthesis method for the polymer. My dissertation committee called it breakthrough work. Several companies expressed interest in licensing the technology. I was 27 years old and had created something genuinely novel, something valuable. I was also completely in love with Victoria Chun. She graduated with her MBA the same year I finished my PhD. We got married at Cambridge City Hall on a Tuesday afternoon, with 2 friends as witnesses, because neither of us wanted to wait or make a fuss. I wore the only suit I owned. She wore a white sundress she'd bought the day before. We ate Thai food afterward and drank cheap wine in our apartment and made love like we were the only 2 people in the world. "I have an idea," she said later that night, her head on my chest, her hand tracing circles on my skin. "About your polymer. Yeah, I want to start a company. With you. Your technology is incredible, Marcus, but it needs the right business strategy, the right positioning, the right funding to really scale. I can do that. We can do that together." My heart swelled. This was it. The partnership I'd always dreamed of. Not just romantic, but professional, intellectual, creative. Two people building something meaningful, something lasting. What would we call it? I asked. She thought for a moment. Chun Technologies. Not Web Technologies. Not Chun Web Technologies. I noticed it, felt a small flutter of something, discomfort, concern, but I pushed it away. It was her business expertise that would make this work. Her name in the business world. It made sense, didn't it? I love it, I said, because I loved her, and that seemed like the same thing. Years 1 to 3. The building phase Chun Technologies started in our living room. Torai raised an initial seed round from angel investors, $2 million, based on my patent application and her business plan. The patent was filed under my name, Marcus Webb, but the licensing rights were assigned to the company. Our company. That's how startups work, I told myself. That's normal. I was Chief Technology Officer. She was CEO. We hired 3 engineers and rented a small office space in Kendall Square. Those first 3 years were brutal and exhilarating in equal measure. I spent 18-hour days in the lab, refining the polymer formulation, developing manufacturing processes, working with our engineers to create prototype products. Tori spent 18-hour days pitching investors, courting potential clients, building partnerships, managing finances. She was magnificent, tireless, ruthless when she needed to be, charming when charm was required. I watched her negotiate a deal with a major medical device company and thought, this is the woman I married. Brilliant, powerful. Mind we barely saw each other during those years. Ships passing in the night, both of us consumed by the work. When we did connect, it was usually about the company. Board meetings in our kitchen, strategy sessions in bed at midnight, spreadsheets over breakfast. The romance didn't fade. It transformed. It became the company. Building Chun Technologies together was our love language. Or so I thought. I remember one night, maybe 3 years in, when we actually went out to dinner. A real date. Torai had just closed a series of funding round, $15 million, and wanted to celebrate. We did it, she said, raising her wine glass. Her eyes were shining. She looked like the girl I'd met in that thermodynamics seminar, before the power suits and the carefully styled hair and the practiced investor smile. You did it, I corrected. That pitch was incredible, Tor. We're a team, she said firmly. Your technology, my execution. Neither works without the other. I believed her. God help me, I completely believed her. To us, I said, clinking my glass against hers. To us, she echoed. And to Chun Technologies. The company came first in that toast. I noticed. I didn't say anything. Years 4 to 7. The scaling phase Chun Technologies exploded. My polymer technology turned out to be even more versatile than we'd initially realized. We developed applications for consumer electronics, automotive manufacturing, aerospace, defense. Revenue grew from $3 million in year 3 to $45 million in year 7, that we moved out of our modest apartment into a house in Bellevue. Not a mansion yet, that would come later, but a real house with a yard and a 2-car garage. Torai bought a Tesla. I kept driving my 10-year-old Honda Civic because I genuinely didn't care about cars, and because I was usually too tired from the lab to think about material possessions. That we hired a VP of engineering to manage the growing technical team. This freed me up to focus on R&D, developing new applications and improvements to the core technology. It also meant I had less visibility into the day-to-day operations of the company I'd helped create that I didn't mind. I trusted Tori completely. The company raised a Series B, $60 million, and then a Series C, $120 million. Tori's stake, as founder and CEO, was substantial. My stake, as CTO and patent holder, was also significant, roughly 15% of the company, which on paper was worth millions. On paper, in reality, I was salary capped by the board's compensation committee, which Tori chaired. I made $180,000 a year. Comfortable, certainly, but not lavish. Not when the CEO, my wife, was making $450,000 plus bonuses plus stock options that vested on an accelerated schedule. It's about optics, she explained when I asked about the disparity. Investors want to see disciplined compensation structures. You'll make your real money when we exit, baby. That's when the equity pays off. It made sense. I wasn't in this for the money anyway. I was in it for the work, for the partnership, for the vision we'd built together. Except we weren't building together anymore, were we? I was in the lab. She was in boardrooms, at conferences, on CNBC talking about her company and her vision that I noticed the pronouns shifting. We became I in her interviews and presentations. Our technology became the technology we've developed at Chun Technologies, with no mention of the individual who actually developed it. Marcus Webb, PhD, holder of 17 patents, became our CTO in footnotes and org charts that I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself that public credit was less important than the actual work. I told myself that Tori loved me, that we were partners, that the success of Chun Technologies was our shared success regardless of who got the spotlight, that I told myself a lot of things. Years 8 to 11. The distance phase somewhere around year 8. I realized I was lonely. Not alone. I was surrounded by people at the office, working with talented engineers, collaborating on exciting projects. But lonely in the specific way you can only be lonely in a marriage that has become a business transaction. Tori and I barely spoke about anything except the company. We hadn't had sex in 6 months, then a year. Then I stopped counting. She was traveling constantly. Investor roadshows, client meetings, industry conferences, board retreats. When she was home, she was locked in her home office on video calls with London, Singapore, Tel Aviv. Global expansion, she called it. Building partnerships. Preparing for the eventual IPO, always the IPO. That was the end game, the promised land, the moment when all the sacrifice and hard work would pay off. When we'd cash out and finally have time to remember what we were to each other beyond CEO and CTO. I tried to talk to her about it. About us. I miss you, I said one night when she came home at 11 p.m. from a dinner with potential strategic partners. I miss you too, baby, she said. But she was already looking at her phone, scrolling through emails. This is just temporary. Once we get through this growth phase, you said that 2 years ago. She looked up, and for a moment, I saw something flash across her face. Annoyance? Calculation? It was gone before I could identify it. Marcus, you know how important this phase is. We're building something incredible here. I need you to trust me. Trust. That word again. I do trust you, I said. I want my wife back sometimes. She softened then, or appeared to. She put down her phone and came to sit next to me on the couch. She took my hand. I know, she said. I know this has been hard. But we're so close. Another year, maybe 2, and we can think about an exit strategy. Maybe we sell to a strategic buyer. Maybe we go public. But either way, we'll have time again. I promise. I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted to believe her. Okay, I said. She kissed my forehead, the way you'd kiss a child or a pet, and went upstairs to bed. That I sat on the couch for another hour, staring at nothing, feeling something fundamental cracking inside me. Year 12. The discovery 3 months ago. Tori announced that Chun Technologies was preparing for an IPO. The company was now valued at $800 million. We'd grown to 200 employees. We had contracts with Fortune 500 companies across multiple industries. We were a genuine success story. This is it, Marcus, she said over breakfast one morning. A rare morning when we were both home, both awake at the same time. We're going public in the first quarter of next year. Can you believe it? Everything we've worked for. Everything we've worked for. The pronouns slipped back into collective form, and I felt a warm rush of hope. Maybe this would be the reset button. Maybe once the pressure of the IPO was behind us, we could reconnect. Travel. Remember what we'd been before we became a cap table and an org chart. That's incredible, Tor, I said. I'm proud of you. Of us. She smiled, but something about it seemed off. Mechanical. Like she was smiling for a camera I couldn't see. We should celebrate, I suggested. Maybe take a long weekend after the roadshow? Go somewhere quiet. No phones, no business talk, just us. Maybe, she said, which I'd learned over the years meant no. Let's see how things shake out with the timing. She left for the office 20 minutes later. I had the day off, a rare occurrence, and decided to work from home, catching up on patent applications and technical documentation. Around noon, I went into Tori's home office to grab a phone charger. She had a drawer full of them, and I'd left mine at the lab. Her laptop was open on the desk. She must have forgotten to close it before leaving. I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that. I wasn't looking for anything. I was reaching for the drawer when I bumped the mouse, and the screen lit up and an email was open. The subject line read, Project Sunset, Final Timeline. I should have looked away. Should have closed the laptop. Should have respected her privacy. But something about that subject line made my blood run cold. Project Sunset. I read the email. Asterisk asterisk the email that changed everything asterisk 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 from Victoria Chun Victoria at chuntechnologies.com to Robert Kensington at kensington-legal.com cc. Jennifer Park at parkdivorcelaw.com date November 15th subject Project Sunset Final Timeline asterisk asterisk Robert and Jennifer asterisk asterisk thank you for the updated timeline. To confirm asterisk asterisk IPO filing February 15th roadshow March 1st to 20th pricing and public offering March 28th to 30th lockup period begins April 1st filing for dissolution of marriage April 5 asterisk. This timing is critical. As we've discussed, the prenuptial agreement becomes void after 12 years of marriage anniversary April 12th, which would entitle Marcus to 50% of all marital assets under Washington state law, including my founder's equity, asterisk asterisk by filing on April 5th, exactly 1 week before our 12-year anniversary. We ensure the prenup remains enforceable. Under its terms, Marcus is entitled to his existing equity stake, approximately 15% of company value, but has no claim to my founder's shares, 42% of company value. That asterisk asterisk the IPO is expected to value the company at $1.2 to $1.5 billion. His 15% stake would be worth approximately $180 to $225 million post-IPO. This should be sufficient to avoid any claims of financial hardship in the divorce proceedings. Asterisk asterisk Jennifer, please ensure all documentation is prepared for filing on April 5th. Robert, please continue with the IP review we discussed. Marcus's original patent expires in 3 years, but the improvements and applications patents developed by our internal team should be sufficient to maintain our competitive position even if he attempts to license the core technology elsewhere. Asterisk asterisk one additional note. Marcus is not represented by counsel and is not aware of the prenuptial anniversary clause. He believes we are building our future together, his words. I'd like to maintain this impression until after the filing to avoid any complications with the IPO process. The last thing we need is a disgruntled CTO creating problems during the roadshow. Asterisk asterisk let's plan for a final review meeting on January 15. Asterisk asterisk best, Victoria asterisk. I read that email 3 times. Then I read it again. Then I sat down on her desk chair because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. Project Sunset. The dissolution of our marriage, planned with the same meticulous attention to detail she applied to board presentations and investor pitches. The timing. Filing exactly 1 week before our anniversary to enforce a prenuptial agreement I barely remembered signing. We'd been so young, so in love, so certain that our marriage was forever. The prenup had been her lawyer father's idea, a formality neither of us took seriously, except she'd been taking it very seriously. For how long? When did she decide this? When did our marriage become Project Sunset, a task to be completed, a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be eliminated at precisely the right moment to maximize her financial outcome? Marcus is not represented by counsel and is not aware of the prenuptial anniversary clause. He believes we're building our future together, his words. The mockery in that line, the casual cruelty of it, the way she'd weaponized my own earnest hope against me. I sat in that chair for 2 hours, staring at the screen, as 12 years of marriage reorganized themselves in my mind. Every sacrifice I'd made looked different now. Every time I'd set aside my own ambitions to support hers. Every time I'd accepted less compensation because we're building for the future together. Every lonely night and forgotten anniversary and canceled plan, all of it leading to this moment, April 5th. She was going to serve me with divorce papers exactly 1 week before our 12-year anniversary, while we were riding high on the success of an IPO built on my technology. In a company I'd helped create, protecting her wealth while leaving me with exactly what the contract entitled me to and not a penny more. She wasn't leaving because the marriage had failed. She was leaving because the marriage had succeeded. It had served its purpose. I'd helped her build a $1 billion company, and now I was expendable. A liability, even. The last thing we need is a disgruntled CTO creating problems during the roadshow. I thought about confronting her, screaming at her, begging her to explain how the woman I'd loved could be capable of this kind of calculated betrayal, but I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I forwarded the email to my personal account. Then I deleted the sent message from her sent folder. Then I closed the laptop and left her office exactly as I'd found it. I went upstairs to our bedroom, where we'd slept side by side for 12 years, where she'd held me and promised me forever. And I sat on the edge of the bed and felt something inside me die. Not love, exactly. Love doesn't die that quickly, that cleanly. What died was trust, faith, the belief that we were partners, that we were on the same team, that the sacrifices meant something. What died was the old Marcus Webb, the one who believed in happily ever after. What was born was something harder, colder, more calculating. If Tori could plan Project Sunset, then I could plan my own project. I'd call it Project Dawn. Going through the motions, smiling when Tori came home, nodding in meetings, running simulations in the lab that I couldn't focus on because my mind was spinning through scenarios, possibilities, strategies. At night, while she slept beside me, or pretended to sleep, I couldn't tell anymore. I stared at the ceiling and thought about what I could do. Option 1. Confront her directly. Demand answers. Beg her to reconsider. Pathetic. That's what she'd think. That's what her lawyers would tell her I was. A soon-to-be ex-husband making emotional scenes, proving exactly why she needed to execute her carefully planned exit strategy. Option 2. Hire my own divorce attorney. File first. Beat her to the punch. Tempting, but pointless. She had better lawyers, more resources, and filing first wouldn't change the fundamental facts. The prenup was enforceable until April 12th, and nothing I did would change that legal reality. Option 3. Accept it. Take my 15% stake, walk away with $200 million, and start over. Many people would call that winning. Most people would kill for that kind of money. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the betrayal. It was about 12 years of my life spent building something I thought was ours, only to discover I'd been building her empire while she counted down the days until she could discard me. It was about the fact that she was planning to leave me with equity in a company I'd created while keeping the controlling stake for herself, which brought me to option 4. Option 4 required me to think like Tori. Cold, strategic, ruthless. Option 4 required me to understand exactly what gave Chun Technologies its value, and exactly how much of that value rested on intellectual property that I controlled. The patent portfolio analysis. I spent a weekend locked in my home office. Ironic, using the same space where I discovered her betrayal, reviewing every patent in the Chun Technologies portfolio. There were 47 patents total. 17 of them were filed under my name as the primary inventor, covering the core polymer technology and the fundamental synthesis processes. These were the patents that everything else was built on. The remaining 30 patents were filed by other engineers at the company, covering specific applications, improvements, and manufacturing refinements. These were valuable, certainly, but they were derivative. They only worked because of the foundational technology. My foundational technology. Here's what most people don't understand about patents. They're property. Intellectual property, but property nonetheless. And like physical property, they can be sold, licensed, transferred. When I joined Chun Technologies, I'd assigned the licensing rights to the company. This meant Chun Technologies had the exclusive right to use my patents for the life of the company. Standard startup arrangement. But I'd never assigned ownership. The patents were still filed under my name. Marcus Webb was listed as the inventor on every single one of those 17 core patents. And here's the thing about licensing agreements. They can be modified. They can be terminated. They can be complicated by the introduction of other parties. I pulled up the original licensing agreement I'd signed 12 years ago. Tori's business school classmate had drafted it, a friend doing us a favor, keeping legal costs low when we were bootstrapping. The agreement granted Chun Technologies exclusive licensing rights to my patents for the manufacture and sale of products incorporating the polymer technology. In exchange, I received equity in the company and a seat as CTO. But there was a clause. Section 7.2. In the event of termination of licensor's employment with licensee for any reason, including but not limited to resignation, termination with or without cause, or dissolution of marriage between licensor and CEO, licensor retains the right to terminate this agreement with 90 days written notice. Dissolution of marriage. That clause had been Tori's idea. Just in case, she'd said at the time. If something happens to us, God forbid. We don't want the company tied up in a messy divorce. This keeps things clean. You keep your patents, the company keeps operating, everyone moves forward. It had seemed reasonable at the time. Protective, even. A way to ensure that our personal relationship and our business relationship stayed separate. She'd never imagined I'd find out about Project Sunset with enough time to use that clause against her. If I terminated the licensing agreement, Chun Technologies would lose access to the core polymer technology 90 days later. They couldn't manufacture any of their current products. They couldn't fulfill any of their existing contracts. They couldn't proceed with the IPO. The entire company would collapse. But that was nuclear option territory. Mutually assured destruction. Yes, I'd destroy her carefully planned exit, but I'd also destroy my own equity stake. $200 million turning to zero. Revenge, but at what cost? Unless I didn't just terminate the licensing agreement. Unless I transferred it somewhere else. The competitor Nexus Materials was Chun Technologies' largest competitor. They'd been trying to develop their own version of my polymer for years, but their synthesis process was inefficient and expensive. They had maybe 20% of the market share that we had, but they had deep pockets. Nexus was owned by Harrington Industries, a multinational materials conglomerate with annual revenue of $40 billion. They had the resources to scale production of my polymer technology globally, to undercut Chun Technologies on price, to dominate the market. All they lacked was the technology itself that I could give them that technology that I looked up Nexus Materials CEO, Dr. Patricia Moreno, a chemical engineer with an impressive resume and a reputation for aggressive business tactics. She'd been quoted in trade publications talking about how Nexus was committed to competing in the advanced polymer space and exploring all strategic options to enhance our technical capabilities. I drafted an email Dr. Moreno. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm the inventor of the polymer technology currently licensed exclusively to Chun Technologies. I'm interested in discussing a potential licensing arrangement with Nexus Materials. Would you be available for a confidential conversation? Best regards, Marcus Webb, PhD. I stared at that email for 20 minutes before sending it. This was it. The point of no return. Once I sent this email, I was committed to a path that would destroy everything Tori had built. Everything we'd built together. Except it wasn't we anymore, was it? It had never been we. It had been her, using me, using my work, building her empire on my innovations while planning the exact date she'd kick me to the curb. I hit send. Patricia Moreno replied within 2 hours. The meeting we met at a hotel bar in downtown Seattle, neutral territory, both of us dressed in civilian clothes rather than business attire. I got there early and ordered a whiskey I didn't drink, just held the glass and watched the door. Patricia Moreno was in her mid-50s, with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She sat down across from me and ordered sparkling water. Dr. Webb, she said. This is an unexpected pleasure. Call me Marcus. Patricia. She studied me for a moment. I'll be honest, Marcus. When I got your email, I had to read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. You are currently the CTO of Chun Technologies, correct? Correct. And you're interested in discussing licensing your patent portfolio to my company, which is your current employer's primary competitor. Also correct. That's unusual. My situation is unusual. She leaned back, still watching me. I'm listening. I took a breath. This was it. The moment where I either turned back or committed fully to the path of calculated revenge. In approximately 4 months, I said, my wife, Victoria Chun, CEO of Chun Technologies, is planning to file for divorce. She's timed it precisely to enforce a prenuptial agreement that will leave her with controlling interest in the company while minimizing my settlement. She's been planning this for at least several months, possibly longer, without my knowledge. Patricia's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Interest. And maybe something else. Sympathy. I'm sorry to hear that, she said carefully. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking for a business arrangement. Go on. The core technology that makes Chun Technologies valuable is based on 17 patents filed under my name. The licensing agreement I signed with the company includes a termination clause that allows me to revoke the license in the event of dissolution of marriage. Understanding dawned on Patricia's face. You want to pull your technology out from under Chun Technologies. I want to license it to someone who will use it effectively. Someone who has the resources and infrastructure to scale it globally. Someone who can give me a fair deal. And destroy your wife's company in the process. Destroy is a strong word. Let's say, dramatically reduce its valuation. Patricia took a sip of her water. What exactly are you proposing? I terminate my licensing agreement with Chun Technologies effective 90 days from today. Simultaneously, I enter into an exclusive licensing agreement with Nexus Materials. You get access to the polymer technology that you've been trying to develop yourselves for years. You get to manufacture and sell products that will immediately capture Chun Technologies' market share. And what do you get? 3 things. First, an upfront payment of $50 million for the license. Second, a 5% royalty on all products manufactured using the technology. Third, the satisfaction of watching my wife's carefully planned exit strategy collapse around her. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. That's vindictive. Yes, I said simply. It is. I like it. She smiled, and it was a predator's smile. But I need to understand the full picture. What happens to Chun Technologies when you pull the license? Their manufacturing stops. They can't fulfill current contracts. They breach agreements with major clients. The IPO becomes impossible. The company's valuation drops from over $1 billion to maybe $200 million, if they're lucky. And that's just from the non-core patents and existing client relationships. And your equity stake? Becomes essentially worthless. But I don't care. Under the divorce settlement, I get 15% of the post-IPO valuation, roughly $200 million. If the company collapses, my equity is worth nothing, but neither is hers. She loses $600 million in founder's equity. That's worth more to me than keeping my $200 million. Patricia shook her head slowly. That's the most expensive divorce I've ever heard of. Not expensive. Fair. She planned to leave me with exactly what the contract entitled me to and not a penny more after 12 years of using me to build her empire. Now she'll get exactly what the contract entitles her to, controlling interest in a worthless company. You've thought this through. I've had 3 weeks to think about nothing else. Patricia pulled out her phone and started typing. I need to run this by our legal team and our board, but preliminary assessment? This is extremely interesting. The polymer technology alone could add $500 million to Nexus's annual revenue within 2 years. We've been trying to develop a competing process for 5 years with limited success. Your synthesis process is too expensive, I said. The temperature requirements are too high, the catalyst costs are prohibitive, and the yield is inconsistent. I can solve all of those problems. She looked up from her phone. You've been following our research. I follow all research in my field. Including my competitors. Former competitors, she corrected. If we do this, we're partners. If we do this, I'll have an answer for you in 48 hours, Patricia said. She stood up, extending her hand. This has been the most interesting meeting I've had in years, Marcus. If you're certain about this, and I mean really certain, not just angry, we can make it happen. I shook her hand. Her grip was firm, businesslike. I'm certain, I said, and I was. The execution. Patricia Moreno called me 36 hours later. Our board approved it, she said without preamble. Pending due diligence on the patents and assuming your termination clause is as clean as you say it is, we're prepared to move forward. When can you meet with our legal team? My heart was pounding. Tomorrow. Good. Because we're going to need to move fast on this. If Chun Technologies gets wind of what you're planning, they'll find a way to stop it. They won't find out. I haven't told anyone. My wife has no idea I know about her plans. Keep it that way. I met with Nexus's legal team in a conference room at the Harrington Industries Seattle office. 3 lawyers, Patricia, and the CFO of Nexus Materials. They'd already reviewed my patents and the licensing agreement. "It's clean," the lead attorney said. Her name was Sarah Vance, and she had the kind of sharp, precise manner that suggested she didn't waste words. "The termination clause is unambiguous. In the event of dissolution of marriage, you have the right to terminate with 90 days' notice. No qualifications, no restrictions." "What about his employment contract?" the CFO asked. "Separate issue," Sarah said. "He can be terminated as CTO, but that doesn't affect patent ownership or the licensing agreement. The two are deliberately kept separate. Ironically, probably at Mrs. Chin's insistence to protect the company in case of divorce. She didn't imagine I'd use it this way," I said. "No one would," Patricia said. "It's brilliant and terrible in equal measure." Sarah pulled out a contract. "Here's what we're proposing. Exclusive licensing agreement for all 17 patents, plus any improvements or derivative works you develop. Upfront payment of $50 million, wired to an account of your choosing upon signing. 5% royalty on gross revenue from products incorporating the technology, paid quarterly. Agreement is for 20 years, renewable." I read through the contract carefully. It was fair, more than fair. Nexus was betting that my technology would make them the dominant player in the advanced polymer market, and they were willing to pay accordingly. "What's the timeline?" I asked. "We can sign today," Sarah said. "You file termination notice with Chun Technologies tomorrow. 90 days from tomorrow, their license expires and ours becomes effective. The IPO roadshow starts in 3 months," I said. "Tori, Victoria, is planning to file for divorce right after it closes." "Then the timing is perfect," Patricia said. "She'll file, thinking she's secured her $600 million founder's equity. 1 week later, you file termination notice. By the time she realizes what's happening, it's too late to stop it. She'll try to fight it in court," the CFO said. "Claim you violated your employment contract, breached fiduciary duty, something." "Let her try," Sarah said. "The patents are his property. The licensing agreement explicitly allows termination in case of divorce. He's not stealing anything or violating anything. He's exercising his legal rights under a contract she insisted on." I looked at the signature line on the contract. Once I signed this, there was no going back. Chin Technologies would collapse. Tori's dreams of a billion-dollar empire would evaporate. Our marriage, already dead in everything but legal status, would end in spectacular fashion. And I would be $50 million richer, with royalties that would make me wealthier than I'd ever been as a salaried CTO in my wife's company. That I thought about that email. Marcus is not represented by counsel and is not aware of the prenuptial anniversary clause. He believes we're building our future together, his words. The mockery, the calculation, the way she'd weaponized 12 years of partnership against me. I picked up the pen. "One question," I said. "What happens if she tries to change the licensing agreement before I can terminate it?" "She can't," Sarah said. "Any modification to your licensing agreement requires your signature. That was built into the original contract, probably another protective measure that's now working against her." "Then I have one more request," I said. "I want the termination notice delivered on April 12th, our 12-year anniversary, the day her prenup expires and becomes void." Patricia smiled. "Poetic." "No," I said. "Justice." I signed the contract. The waiting game ***. The next 3 months were the longest of my life. I went to work every day at Chin Technologies. Attended meetings. Reviewed technical specifications. Collaborated with the engineering team on product improvements. I smiled at Tori across the conference table during board meetings. I asked about her day at dinner. I became a ghost haunting my own life, watching everything from a distance, waiting. Tori was in her element during this period. The IPO roadshow was everything she'd worked for, a chance to tell the Chun Technologies story to institutional investors, to convince them that our company was worth $1.2 billion or more, to secure her place as a successful tech CEO. She flew to New York, Boston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, London, Singapore. She came home exhausted and exhilarated, talking about the conversations she'd had, the commitments she'd secured, the validation of seeing sophisticated investors recognize the value of what she'd built. That I listened and nodded and said supportive things, all while knowing that in a few weeks, it would all come crashing down. Sometimes I wondered if I should feel guilty, if I was being unnecessarily cruel. If there was a better way to handle this, then I'd remember that email. The casual cruelty of, I'd like to maintain this impression until after the filing to avoid any complications. The way she'd reduced 12 years of marriage to a project to be managed, a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be removed at precisely the right moment, and oh, I wasn't being cruel. I was being fair that she'd planned to take everything while leaving me with exactly what the contract allowed. Now I was doing the same. April 5th. The filing I was in the lab when it happened. Running stress tests on a new polymer formulation, completely absorbed in the work, when my phone buzzed with a notification to an email from a law firm I didn't recognize. Park & Associates, Divorce and Family LAW.my hands were shaking as I opened it. Dear Dr. Webb, we represent Victoria Chun in the matter of the dissolution of her marriage to you. Please find attached a petition for dissolution of marriage filed today in King County Superior Court. MS. Chun has requested an amicable and expeditious resolution of this matter. We encourage you to retain counsel and contact our office at your earliest convenience to discuss settlement terms. Sincerely, Jennifer Park. Attached was the petition. 60 pages of legal language boiling down to, your wife wants a divorce, and here's exactly how little you're entitled to. I'd been expecting this for months. Planning for it. Preparing for it. But seeing it in writing, seeing petitioner Victoria Chun seeks dissolution of marriage to respond at Marcus Webb on grounds of irreconcilable differences, made it real in a way that all my abstract knowledge hadn't. She'd really done it. Filed for divorce 1 week before our 12-year anniversary, exactly as planned, exactly as outlined in that email I'd read 3 months ago, that I sat down on a lab stool and read through the petition carefully. She was seeking a fair and equitable division of marital assets, which, under the prenuptial agreement, meant I kept my 15% equity stake in Chun Technologies, currently valued at approximately $180 million based on expected IPO price. She kept her 42% founder's stake, currently valued at approximately $600 million. We'd split joint assets like the house, cars, savings, maybe $3 million total. No spousal support in either direction on paper. It was reasonable. I was walking away from the marriage with nearly $200 million. Most people would call that winning the divorce lottery, but I wasn't most people. And I had a card to play that Tori didn't know existed. That I forwarded the email to Sarah Vance at Nexus with a simple message, "It's time." Her response came back within minutes. Termination notice will be delivered to Chun Technologies on April 12th, as requested. The $50 million has been wired to your account. Congratulations, Marcus. And I'm sorry for what you're going through. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted justice. I wanted Tori to feel exactly what I'd felt reading that email 3 months ago. The sudden, nauseating realization that the future she'd planned, the security she'd counted on, the partnership she'd taken for granted, was actually built on sand. That I replied to Jennifer Park's email. I'm not contesting the divorce. I'll retain counsel, and we can work out the details. Then I went home, packed a bag, and checked into a hotel. I couldn't spend another night in that house, in that bed, pretending everything was normal. I texted Tori. Got the papers. I'm staying at a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Let's talk this weekend. She replied immediately. I'm sorry it came to this. You've been an amazing partner. Let's make this as painless as possible. Amazing partner. Past tense. As if our 12 years together were already history, already boxed up and labeled and put away. I didn't reply. April 12th. The anniversary I woke up in my hotel room on our 12-year anniversary and ordered room service breakfast I didn't eat. I showered and dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. No need for professional clothes today. I wasn't going to the office. Instead, I sat on the bed with my laptop and waited at 9 a.m. Sarah Vance sent me an email with an attachment. Termination notice delivered via courier to Chun Technologies at 8:45 a.m. Copy attached for your records. The notice was brief and devastating. Victoria Chun, CEO Chun Technologies, Inc. Re. Termination of patent licensing agreement. Dear Ms. Chun, pursuant to Section 7.2 of the Patent Licensing Agreement dated April 12, 2013. I hereby provide notice of termination of said agreement effective 90 days from today's date. As of July 11, 2025, Chun Technologies Incorporated will no longer have licensed access to the following patents list of 17 patent numbers. This termination is exercised under the dissolution of marriage clause and is in accordance with all terms of the original agreement. Sincerely, Marcus Webb, PhD. I imagine Tori receiving that notice, opening it in her office, probably expecting routine correspondence, maybe thinking about the IPO closing that was scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Reading it once, not understanding. Reading it again, understanding flooding in like cold water. Realizing what I'd done. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Tori's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Again, I let it go to voicemail. 5 more calls in the next 10 minutes. Then texts started coming through. Marcus, what the fuck is this? Call me right now. What have you done? We need to talk immediately, Marcus, please. We can work this out. I'm coming to the hotel. I turned off my phone. The fallout. Days 1-3, I stayed in the hotel for 3 days with my phone off, ordering room service and watching the news and waiting for the universe to catch up to what I'd set in motion. On day 2, I finally turned on my phone to find 247 missed calls, 89 text messages, and 34 voicemails. Most were from Tori, escalating from angry to pleading to desperate. You can't do this. The board is threatening to sue you. Our lawyers say you're breaching your fiduciary duty. Marcus, please. Everything we built. I know you're angry about the divorce, but this is insane. You're destroying the company. You're destroying both of our futures. Please call me. That last one was Rich. She was worried about destroying both of our futures now, after she'd spent months planning to maximize her future at the expense of mine. There were also messages from the Chun Technologies board chair, from our VP of engineering, from several major investors. Everyone wanting to know what the hell I was doing and how they could stop me. The answer to the second question was, they couldn't. I called Sarah Vance. How bad is it? I asked. From their perspective, catastrophic. Chun Technologies lawyers have been calling me nonstop, trying to find a way to invalidate the termination. They can't. The contract is ironclad. Your patents, your right to terminate, and the dissolution of marriage clause is explicit. What about the IPO? Postponed indefinitely. No investment bank is going to underwrite an offering for a company that just lost access to its core technology. The valuation has already dropped from $1.2 billion to maybe $300 million, and that's being generous. In Nexus, we're ramping up production facilities. With your patents, we can start manufacturing within 60 days. By the time Chun Technologies figures out a workaround, if they even can, we'll have captured most of their market share. Good. Marcus. Sarah paused. Are you okay? I know this must be difficult. I'm fine, I said, which was both true and completely false. That I wasn't fine. I was hollow. I'd just destroyed a company I'd spent 12 years building. I'd made myself wealthy in the process, $50 million plus royalties that would add millions more each year. But I'd also burned down everything that my marriage had been built on, but I was also oddly at peace. Because Tori was feeling now what I'd felt 3 months ago, betrayed, blindsided, watching her carefully planned future collapse in real time. I need to talk to her, I said. Can you be on standby in case there are legal issues? Of course. But Marcus? Don't agree to anything without running it by me first. She's going to be desperate, and desperate people make dangerous offers. Understood. I texted Tori, coffee tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at the Starbucks on Pine. Come alone. Her response was immediate. I'll be there. The confrontation. I got to the coffee shop 20 minutes early and chose a table in the back corner. Neutral ground. Public enough that she couldn't make a scene, private enough that we could talk. Tori arrived exactly on time. She looked terrible, hair pulled back in a messy bun, minimal makeup, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual power suits. I'd never seen her look so undone, She sat down across from me without ordering coffee. Marcus, she said, and her voice cracked. What have you done? I exercised my rights under the licensing agreement. You're destroying everything we built. Everything you built, I corrected. That's how you always phrased it in interviews. My company, my vision, the technology we developed at Chun Technologies. She flinched. It was positioning for investors. You know that. I know a lot of things now. I know that you've been planning to divorce me for at least 3 months, probably longer. I know you timed the filing to enforce the prenup. I know you expected me to just accept my 15% stake and walk away while you kept your $600 million empire. Her face went pale. How did I find out? I read your email. Project Sunset. Very clever code name. Marcus, I can explain. No, I said, and my voice was harder than I'd ever heard it. You can't explain. There's no explanation that makes this okay. You spent 12 years letting me believe we were partners, that we were building our future together, while you were actually just using me until you didn't need me anymore. That's not fair, she said, but there was no conviction in it. Isn't it? Tell me, Tori, when did you decide? When did you decide that our marriage had an expiration date? Was it year 5? Year 10? Or was it always the plan? Marry the guy with the brilliant technology, build an empire on his work, then discard him at precisely the right moment to maximize your payout. She was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. It wasn't like that. I loved you. I do love you. You loved what I could do for you. My technology. My willingness to support your ambitions at the expense of my own. My convenient obliviousness to what you were planning. So you decided to destroy the company? To destroy everything I've worked for. I destroyed what was built on a lie, I said. The company still exists. It still has value. It still has 30 patents that don't belong to me. It still has your brilliant business mind and your incredible investor relationships. You can rebuild. You know that's not true. Without the core technology, we're nothing. We can't fulfill our contracts. We can't compete with. She stopped, understanding dawning. Nexus. You licensed to Nexus. I did. You sold your patents to our competitor. I sold access to my patents. I corrected. The patents still belong to me. But yes, Nexus now has the exclusive license. They're ramping up production. They'll be the dominant player in the advanced polymer market within 2 years. And you? What do you get? $50 million upfront. 5% royalty on gross revenue. Financial security for life. She laughed bitterly. You would have had that anyway. Your equity stake was worth $200 million. After the IPO. After you'd maximized your own payout. After you'd left me with exactly what the contract entitled me to, and not a penny more. I leaned forward. This way, I get paid for my actual contribution. My work. My patents. Not your generosity or your lawyer's calculations of what I deserve. So this is revenge. This is justice. Justice. Her voice rose. You're destroying dozens of people's jobs, Marcus. The engineers who worked for us. The support staff. The investors who believed in us. All because you're angry at me. I'm destroying a company that was built on a lie. Those engineers will get jobs at Nexus or somewhere else. The support staff will find new positions. The investors will take a loss, but they knew the risks. And you? You'll still walk away with tens of millions from your remaining equity stake. You'll be fine. I won't be fine. She was openly sobbing now. This was my life's work. My dream. Everything I've worked for since business school. Then you know how I felt when I read that email, I said quietly. When I realized that 12 years of my life, 12 years of partnership and sacrifice and love, were just stepping stones in your career plan. That I was disposable. A problem to be managed. She didn't have an answer for that. We sat in silence for a long moment. This woman I'd loved for 12 years, who I'd married in a courthouse on a Tuesday, who I'd built a life with, who I'd thought was my partner. She wasn't crying anymore. She'd composed herself, and I could see her shifting into CEO mode. Problem solving. Strategy. What would it take, she asked. What would it take for you to reverse the termination? Nothing. The decision is final. I'll give you more equity. 25%. 30%. Whatever you want. I don't want your equity. It's worthless now. I'll restructure the company. Make you co-CEO. Equal partners. I don't want to be your partner. Not anymore. Then what do you want? She demanded. Do you want me to beg? Do you want me to say I'm sorry? Fine. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I planned badly. I'm sorry I ever sent that goddamn email. Is that what you want to hear? I said slowly, for you to understand what you did. Not just the planning, not just the betrayal. I want you to understand that you took 12 years of someone's life, someone who loved you completely, and you treated them like a resource to be optimized and then discarded. I want you to sit with that, to really feel it. I do feel it, she whispered. Marcus, I do. I fucked up. I was so focused on the business, on the success, on building something that mattered, that I lost sight of what really mattered. Us. Our marriage. You. Too late. It doesn't have to be. We can fix this. We can fix us and fix the company. Just, please reverse the termination. We'll renegotiate everything. Fair split of the company. Real partnership. I'll cancel the divorce filing. We can start over. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone I didn't recognize. Or maybe someone I'd never really known. The brilliant, driven woman I'd fallen in love with at MIT had become someone for whom success mattered more than people, for whom strategy mattered more than ethics, for whom winning mattered more than truth. I don't want to start over with you, I said. I want to start over without you. Marcus, the divorce can proceed. You can have the house. I don't want it. I don't want anything that reminds me of this. You'll still have equity in what's left of Chin Technologies. Maybe you can salvage something. But my patents are licensed to Nexus now, and that's final. I stood up to leave. I loved you, she said, one last desperate attempt. I really did love you. Maybe, I said, but not enough, and definitely not right. I walked out of the coffee shop and didn't look back. The legal battle, that wasn't. Tori's lawyers tried everything to invalidate the termination. They argued breach of fiduciary duty. Sarah's team pointed out that I was exercising rights under a contract that Chun Technologies had insisted on, and that fiduciary duty doesn't prevent someone from enforcing their own contractual rights. They argued that I'd acted in bad faith by not disclosing my plans. Sarah's team pointed out that Tori hadn't disclosed her divorce plans either, and that the licensing agreement had no requirement for advance notice beyond the 90 days I'd provided. They tried to get an injunction to delay the termination. The judge reviewed the contract and said, "This is a private licensing agreement between two parties, one of whom is exercising a clearly stated termination right. I see no grounds for court intervention." They threatened to sue for damages. Sarah told them to go ahead, but reminded them that Tori would have to testify under oath about Project Sunset, about her plans to divorce me while hiding that information during the IPO process, about her deliberate timing to enforce the prenup. "Do you really want that in public court records?" Sarah asked. They dropped the threat. Meanwhile, the business fallout was exactly as catastrophic as I'd known it would be. The IPO was canceled. The underwriting banks pulled out. Chin Technologies' valuation dropped from $1.2 billion to $250 million based on their remaining non-core patents and existing client relationships. Major clients started canceling contracts because Chun Technologies couldn't guarantee product delivery. Engineers started jumping ship to Nexus and other competitors. The board held an emergency meeting and voted to remove Tori as CEO. She fought it, but with the company in freefall and her decision-making now questioned by everyone, she lost. They brought in a turnaround specialist to try to salvage what was left. That I watched it all from a distance, living in my hotel room, working with Nexus on the technology transfer, slowly rebuilding my life. That I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty, but I also felt free. Month 2. The reckoning The divorce was finalized in early June. Quick and relatively painless, because Tori no longer had any leverage. Under the original prenup, I would have gotten my 15% equity stake, originally worth $180 million, now worth maybe $35 million, and nothing else. But the prenup had expired on April 12th, our 12-year anniversary, which meant Washington state community property law applied. Which meant everything acquired during the marriage was split 50/50, including what was left of Chin Technologies. Tori's lawyers argued that my actions had deliberately reduced the marital estate, and I shouldn't benefit from that. My lawyers, I'd hired excellent lawyers with some of that $50 million from Nexus. argued that I'd exercised my independent property rights, and that the reduction in Chun Technologies' value was a result of Tori's decision to file for divorce, not my decision to enforce my licensing agreement. The judge sided with me. Final settlement. I got 50% of what remained of Chun Technologies, about 30% of the total company. She got 50%, about 27% of the total company, after dilution from investor rights. We split other marital assets evenly in the end. We each walked away with about $40 million in Chun Technologies equity. A far cry from the $600 million she'd been expecting for herself and the $180 million she'd planned to leave me with. I also had my $50 million from Nexus, plus royalties that were already generating several million per quarter as they ramped up production, that I was worth over $60 million and growing. More money than I'd ever imagined having. Tori was worth about $40 million. Still wealthy by any measure. Still able to live comfortably for the rest of her life. But not the tech mogul she'd planned to be. Not the billionaire CEO. Not the success story she'd crafted so carefully. Just another divorced entrepreneur who'd lost her company. Month 4. The reflection: I bought a small house on Bainbridge Island. Nothing ostentatious. 3 bedrooms, water view, quiet neighborhood. I set up a home lab in the basement and started consulting for various companies, helping them solve materials engineering problems. I also started working with Nexus more formally. They offered me a position as chief scientific advisor. Part-time, well-compensated, complete freedom to work on whatever interested me. I took it. Patricia Moreno became something like a friend. She'd invite me to dinner occasionally, never asking about Tori or the divorce, just talking about science and business and life. You know, she said one evening, I've been doing this for 30 years. Building companies, competing in the market, winning and losing. I've never seen anyone execute a business move quite like what you did. It wasn't about business, I said. Wasn't it? You identified leverage you didn't know you had. You used it strategically. You timed it perfectly. You secured your own position while neutralizing a threat. That's business at its most fundamental. It was personal. Business and personal aren't as different as we pretend, Patricia said. The best business decisions are the ones that recognize human psychology, human relationships, human behavior. Victoria Chun treated you as a resource instead of a partner. You responded by demonstrating that you were never just a resource. That's both personal and business. I thought about that. Do you regret it? She asked. No, I said immediately. Then, more honestly, sometimes. When I can't sleep and I think about all the people who lost their jobs, all the investors who lost money, the engineers I worked with who had to find new positions. Most of them came to work for us. Patricia reminded me. Better salaries, better benefits, more opportunities for advancement. Nexus has grown by 40% in the last 3 months. We're hiring like crazy. Those engineers are fine. I know, but that's not what really bothers you. She was right. What bothered me, late at night in my new house, was the ghost of what could have been. If Tori had been honest with me, if she'd said, Marcus, I'm not happy. I don't think this is working. Let's figure out a fair way to separate. If she'd treated me like a partner instead of a problem that we could have negotiated. Split the company fairly. Gone our separate ways with mutual respect and tact. Instead, she'd planned Project Sunset, and I'd responded with Project Dawn, and we'd both lost far more than we'd gained. I thought destroying her plan would feel better. I admitted. I thought justice would be satisfying. Justice isn't satisfying, Patricia said. Justice is just necessary. **** month 6. The encounter ****. I was at a materials science conference in San Francisco when I saw her, Victoria Chun. No longer Victoria Chun Webb. We'd both gone back to our pre-marriage names, standing in a group of attendees, networking. She looked good, healthy. She'd let her hair grow longer, and she was smiling at something someone was saying. She saw me at the same moment I saw her. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other across the conference hall. 12 years of history, 6 months of warfare, everything we'd been and done and destroyed, hanging in the air between us. Then she excused herself from her conversation and walked over. Marcus. Tori. I didn't know you'd be here. I'm keynoting tomorrow. Session on polymer applications in renewable energy. Of course you are. She smiled slightly. You always were brilliant with applications thinking. Thank you. Awkward silence. What do you say to the person who planned to carefully discard you, who you then destroyed in retaliation? What's the proper etiquette for that? I heard you're consulting now, she said finally, and working with Nexus. I am. I started a new venture. Early stage. Business operations consulting for tech startups, helping other founders avoid the mistakes I made. That's good. It's humble, she said, but it's honest work, and I'm good at it. Another silence. Marcus, she said, and her voice was softer now. I owe you an apology. A real one, not the desperate one I gave you at that coffee shop. You don't? Yes, I do. Please. She took a breath. What I did was unforgivable. Not just the planning, not just the timing, but the fundamental disrespect of treating you like an asset instead of a person. Like a problem to be managed instead of a partner to be valued. You deserved so much better than that. I didn't know what to say. I've spent the last 6 months in therapy, she continued, trying to understand how I became someone who could do that, who could rationalize it, who could look at 12 years of marriage and see it primarily as a business obstacle. And what did you learn? That success became more important to me than integrity. That I confused building a valuable company with building a valuable life. That I took someone who loved me and turned them into a tool for my ambitions. She met my eyes. I'm sorry, Marcus. Truly, deeply sorry. I'm sorry too, I said, and meant it. For the collateral damage. For the engineers who lost their jobs. For the investors who lost money. They were collateral damage in my plan too, she said. You just revealed the instability I'd built into the foundation. If it hadn't been this, it would have been something else eventually. Maybe. I see now what I couldn't see then, Tori said. That you were never just the CTO. You were the foundation of everything. The technology, yes, but also the integrity. The genuine partnership. The belief that we were building something meaningful together. When I lost sight of that, when I started planning my exit, I lost everything that actually mattered. You'll rebuild, I said. You're too talented not to. Maybe, but I won't make the same mistakes. She smiled sadly. I won't confuse success with happiness again. I won't treat people like assets again. And I won't plan Project Sunsets again. Good. For what it's worth, she said, what you did, with the patents, with Nexus, with the timing, it was brilliant. Cruel, but brilliant. I would have done the same thing. That's not actually a compliment. She laughed, a real laugh, the kind I remembered from MIT. No, I suppose it's not. She held out her hand. Truce? Or at least mutual respect for equally calculating revenge. I shook her hand. Truce. She left, disappearing back into the conference crowd, and I stood there feeling something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not reconciliation, but maybe the beginning of letting go. I'm writing this from the deck of my house on Bainbridge Island, watching the ferry cross the sound in the late afternoon sun. It's been exactly 1 year since I discovered Project Sunset. 1 year since my marriage ended. 1 year since I destroyed $1 billion company and rebuilt my life from the ashes. If you've ever felt invisible in your own marriage, you'll understand what I mean when I say recovery isn't about healing the wound. It's about accepting that the wound happened, that it changed you, that you're not the person you were before. I'm not the Marcus Webb who met Victoria Chun in a thermodynamics seminar. I'm not the Marcus Webb who believed that love and partnership were the same thing. I'm not even the Marcus Webb who signed that licensing agreement 12 years ago, never imagining it would become the weapon that ended everything. I'm someone new, someone harder, someone who understands that trust is earned, not assumed. That partnership requires reciprocity, not just shared goals. That love, real love, doesn't keep a ledger of contributions and benefits and optimal exit timing. Chin Technologies still exists, barely. The board brought in new management. They're focusing on their non-core patents, trying to develop new applications without access to my polymer technology. Last I heard, they'd stabilized at around $150 million in valuation. Not the billion-dollar empire Tori dreamed of, but a sustainable business. Tori's new consulting venture is doing well. She's become something of a cautionary tale in the tech world, the CEO who lost her company in a divorce. But she's using that experience to help other founders navigate the intersection of business and personal relationships. There's a certain irony in that we're not friends. We'll never be friends. But we're not enemies either. We're two people who built something beautiful and destroyed it through our own flaws, our own calculations, our own inability to be honest when honesty mattered most. Nexus Materials is thriving. My polymer technology is now the industry standard. We're developing applications I never imagined when I was stuck in that lab at MIT, chasing stable synthesis processes, medical devices that save lives, renewable energy storage that's making solar and wind more viable, aerospace applications that are reducing weight and improving efficiency. My work matters. It's making a difference. And I'm finally getting credit for it. That I'm also dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm learning to trust again. Learning to be vulnerable again. Learning that not everyone has a Project Sunset hidden in their email drafts. The royalty checks from Nexus come quarterly. Last quarter, I made $3.7 million. This quarter, it's projected to be $4.2 million. That money feels different from the equity I thought I had in Chin Technologies. It's not paper wealth that could evaporate in a market downturn or a bad board decision. It's payment for actual value created. For my work. For my contribution, it's fair. The lesson, if you're reading this and recognizing elements of your own relationship, the slow drift into becoming business partners instead of life partners, the unspoken resentments, the calculations, the secret plans. Let me offer you what I wish someone had offered me. Talk. Be honest. Be brutally, uncomfortably honest before you're so deep in the lies that honesty becomes impossible. But if you're unhappy, say so. If you want something different, ask for it. If you're planning an exit, have the courage to make it clean and fair rather than calculated and cruel. Because the alternative, the path Tori and I took, destroys everything. Not just the relationship, but the business, the shared dreams, the mutual respect. It leaves everyone poorer in ways that have nothing to do with money. And if you're the one being planned against, if you discover your partner's Project Sunset, remember this. You have more power than you think. You have leverage you may not even recognize. You don't have to accept the future someone else has designed for you. But also remember, using that power has consequences. Destroying their plan means destroying what you built together. Justice feels necessary in the moment, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't heal you. It just ensures that they hurt the way you hurt. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all justice ever is. Asterisk, asterisk, the end, or the beginning. The rain has started again, streaking down the windows of my deck, blurring the view of the sound. Rain was falling the day I read that email. Rain was falling the day I signed the contract with Nexus. Rain was falling the day Tori filed for divorce. Rain falls on the just and the unjust alike, someone once said. It falls on the betrayers and the betrayed. It falls on the calculated and the naive. It falls on the successful and the destroyed. I watch it fall now and think about scars. About how they're like receipts, proof of pain endured and survived. About how the biggest scars are the ones nobody sees, the ones etched into your capacity for trust, for hope, for believing in partnership. My phone buzzes. A text from Patricia Moreno. Board meeting next week. We want to discuss bringing you on full-time. Executive role. Build your own team. Think about it. I will think about it. I'm good at thinking now. Good at calculating. Good at seeing the angles and the leverage points and the ways things can go wrong. I'm good at protecting myself. Maybe too good, but that's a problem for tomorrow. For next week. For the version of me that exists after this rain stops and the sun comes out again. Today, I'm just a man on a deck, watching the ferry cross the sound, carrying people toward their destinations. Some of them are going home. Some of them are leaving home. Some of them don't know which is which. I understand that feeling that I close my laptop and go inside, leaving the rain and the view and the ghosts behind. Tomorrow, I'll decide about Patricia's offer. Tomorrow, I'll keep building this new life. Tomorrow, I'll keep moving forward. But tonight, I'll just be. Just exist. Just breathe. Because that's all any of us can do, really. Breathe through the betrayals and the revenges and the justices and the regrets. Breathe through the endings and the beginnings. Breathe through the rain until the sun comes out again. If it comes out again. And if it doesn't, we learn to live in the rain. I took the job at Nexus. Executive Vice President of Technology. I have a team of 60 engineers working on next-generation polymer applications. We're doing groundbreaking work. Work that matters. I got married last month. Her name is Elena. She's a marine biologist. and she has never once asked me about my first marriage beyond the basics. She knows I was married before, that it ended badly, that I prefer not to discuss it. She respects that boundary, which is how I know she's nothing like Tori. Elena and I met at a conference, not a material science conference, but a fundraiser for ocean conservation. I was there because Nexus was sponsoring. She was there because saving the ocean is her life's work. Tell me about polymers, she said at the cocktail reception, and I thought she was being polite, but she actually wanted to know. She had questions about microplastics, about biodegradable alternatives, about whether my technology could help solve ocean pollution problems. That we talked for 3 hours. Exchanged numbers. Had coffee. Had dinner. Had breakfast after she spent the night at my place following our 5th date. I should tell you, I said that morning, I'm not great at relationships. My first marriage ended badly. I have trust issues. I'm working on it, but I want you to know what you're getting into. Okay, she said simply. I'm divorced too. I have my own baggage. We'll work on it together. Together. That word again. But this time it feels different. It feels true that I think about Tori sometimes. Wonder if she's happy. Wonder if she learned what she said she learned, or if she's back to her old patterns. Wonder if she thinks about me, about what we had, about what we destroyed. Mostly, I don't think about her at all. That I think about Elena and the life we're building. I think about my work at Nexus and the problems we're solving. I think about the future, not as something to be calculated and optimized and planned down to the day, but as something to be discovered and experienced and shared. That I think about trust and how it's not something you give once and never question. It's something you build daily, through small, honest actions, through vulnerability, through showing up. That I think about revenge and how unsatisfying it ultimately was. Yes, I stopped Tori from executing her carefully planned betrayal. Yes, I ensured she didn't walk away with everything while leaving me with scraps. Yes, I made her feel the consequences of treating me like an asset instead of a partner, but it didn't heal me. It didn't undo the betrayal. It didn't make me whole. What made me whole was time. Therapy. Elena. Building something new that wasn't haunted by the ghost of what I'd lost. If I could go back. If I could talk to the Marcus Webb who read that email in Tori's office 2 years ago, I don't know what I'd say. Would I tell him to walk away? To be the bigger person? To let Tori execute her plan and take his $200 million and start fresh without the destruction? Maybe. But I'd also tell him this. Whatever you decide, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Not out of spite. Not out of a desire to make someone hurt the way you hurt. But out of a genuine belief that what you're doing is just necessary. True that I'd tell him that revenge is a meal best not eaten at all. But if you're going to eat it anyway, make sure you're prepared for the aftertaste. That it lasts a long time. Asterisk, asterisk, final reflection. What I know now, asterisk, asterisk, love and business don't mix. Or rather, they mix in complicated ways that require more honesty, more communication, more humility than most of us possessed. If you're building something with someone you love, a company, a life, a dream, make sure you're actually building it together. Make sure the pronouns stay plural. Make sure the vision is shared, not just assumed. Make sure you're seeing your partner as a person, not a resource. Make sure you're being seen as a person, not a resource. And if you discover you're not, if you find the email, the plan, the evidence that you've been reduced to a line item in someone else's strategy, you have choices. You can confront. You can forgive. You can negotiate. You can walk away, or you can do what I did. You can use every ounce of leverage you possess to ensure that the person who planned to discard you learns exactly what they're discarding. I don't recommend it, but I understand it. And if you've ever felt invisible in your own marriage, if you've ever discovered that the partnership you believed in was actually someone else's solo project, if you've ever read an email that revealed your entire life was built on a lie, you'll understand it too. The rain has stopped now. The sun is breaking through the clouds, casting long golden rays across the water. Elena is calling me from inside the house, asking if I want to go for a walk before dinner. I close my laptop, this time for good, and go to her. The story is over. The life continues. And this time, I'm writing it with someone who sees me as more than a patent number, more than equity value, more than a problem to be solved. This time, I'm writing it with someone who knows that the best partnerships are the ones where nobody's planning Project Sunset. Because the only project worth planning is Project Forever, and forever, it turns out, is built one honest day at a time. Asterisk if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, I hope you found your own path through the pain. Not necessarily revenge, not necessarily forgiveness, but something that let you wake up and breathe and believe in tomorrow again. That's all any of us can ask for. That's all I have to give you. Asterisk asterisk the truth of what happened, and the hope that your truth ends differently. Asterisk asterisk, or if it doesn't. If you find yourself planning your own Project Dawn in response to someone else's Project Sunset, I hope you do it with eyes open. Asterisk asterisk justice doesn't heal. Asterisk asterisk, but sometimes it's necessary anyway. Asterisk asterisk, and sometimes that has to be enough.